Hello and a happy new year to you all. I wonder if I asked you to describe in one word 2020. I wonder what word you would use. Terrifying, horrific, traumatic, fearful, frightening, worrying. It's true that the pandemic or coronavirus impacted on everyone, often in different ways. It created so many problems and lifestyles had to change. We were no longer free to do what we wanted to do, but we had to do what was best for us as individuals, for the community in which we lived in, and for the nation in which we lived. And so it was very easy to be negative and destructive about 2020. It was a horrible year, and in many ways we were able to be glad that the year was over and we move into a new year. And yet before we do that, I remember that 2020 was a year in which some of us learned how to use Zoom or Microsoft Teams in order to hold meetings. We were able to develop technology that we'd not used before. We became more capable of utilizing the software that has been available. We had time to develop those skills. We were able to see people through FaceTime, through Messenger, through other software. And so we maintained contact even if it wasn't a physical contact. Indeed, we were able to share with people that we didn't know through this media. Spiritually, we were also able to develop skills, daily texts and prayers placed on Facebook, church services attended by people who would never dream of going into an actual church to worship. The sale of Bibles and prayer books was considerably increased during the pandemic, and more questions were raised in regard to the Christian faith. Indeed, some online courses were oversubscribed by people who wanted to know more. There is no doubt that 2020 was a dreadful year in many ways. But you know, the encouraging aspect was that the good news of Jesus was still shared. And many people came to know Jesus as their personal Saviour and Lord during 2020. So even in the midst of the horror of the pandemic, the good news of Jesus was received by many. So what about us now standing at the beginning of 2021? This morning my Bible reading took me to Deuteronomy 11 and verses 10 to 12, where God was talking about Egypt being a place of stress and sorrow and struggle, but that Canaan, the land that God had promised to the people, was going to be successful. People would feel self-worth and there would be spiritual growth. Why? Because God remembered his people and he took them from slavery in Egypt into the promised land. And we're reminded in 2021 that the God who cared for the people of Israel cares and loves each one of us. The love of God never ever ends. We don't have to dread what lies ahead. In 2021, we can still experience God's love and mercy and faithfulness and goodness and love in our lives. Yes, there will be moments of concern and worry. we're still facing an increase in the number of people contracting the virus. But friends, this day, this new day of a new year, we can move forward confident that our God is in ultimate control, that nothing that happens without his authority, his promise to remain with us, to provide our every need, to lead us, to guide us, and to bring glory and honour to his wonderful name. 2021 can start as a time of worry and concern, or we can look forward and we can place our hand in the nail-pierced hand of our wonderful Saviour and follow him. The pathway doesn't promise to be without difficulties, without concerns, without distress, but we're never alone. For as he promised the disciples before he ascended back to heaven, his promise stands firm for us today. And lo, I am with you always until the end of time. Friends, look forward in confidence to 2021. Place your hand in his. Move forward individually with him and collectively as a group of his blood-bought people. And rejoice that he is an amazing God who, in spite of the horror of the pandemic, is still working. And men and women and young people are finding in him that indeed he satisfies, he meets their every need. The Lord bless you and grant you a wonderful 2021. Be inspired, be encouraged in Jesus, and know his wonderful hand upon your heart and your life. And the Lord bless you richly.